The last few weeks have been wonderful for the averages, but they've been devastating for many of the hottest high-flying stocks, especially the cloud-based software security plays. The rotation out of this cohort has been brutal, and right at the epicenter of the carnage, Crowdstrike. Now, we've talked about this one before. Crowdstrike is a cybersecurity play with a twist. Their platform is based on the cloud, meaning they can harness a lot of processing power to protect all of their client systems, from on-premise computers, virtualized machines, cloud-based environments, smartphones. Plus, they use AI, artificial intelligence, to identify vulnerabilities and predict future threats. That's exactly what this market loved a few months ago. So when Crowdstrike came public in June, the stock exploded higher right out of the gate. The IPO priced at $34. The stock opened at $63.50. And over the next couple of months, it surged to $101 at its peak. But since then, Crowdstrike's been getting pummeled. Stock down nearly 30 points over the last 3 weeks. Then the company reported last Thursday night, and if you were hoping a great earnings report would turn things around, well, Crowdstrike delivered what I thought was an excellent quarter. A substantial top and bottom line beat. Get this, 94% revenue growth. Management gave better than expected guidance, but nobody cared. The next day, the stock plunged more than 12% because this whole group had suddenly gone out of favor in the Wall Street fashion show. And investors are betting the competition is heating up in the cybersecurity space. The thing is, Crowdstrike's fundamentals are still fantastic. And even expensive stocks do get cheaper as they go down. So could this be a buying opportunity? Let's take a closer look with George Kurtz. He's the co-founder and CEO of Crowdstrike. To get a better sense of how his company's doing and where it's headed, Mr. Kurtz, welcome to Mad Money. Good to see you, George. Good to see you. Thank you. And congratulations on all your success on many different ventures. All right, so straighten things out for us. You did have maybe the fastest growing company quarter that I've seen this year. And you delivered everything people wanted. Why don't you tell us why you have a proprietary situation and how we shouldn't be fretting as much as people might be doing?
Sure. I think one of the things that is really important to understand about CrowdStrike is we focus on stopping breaches. And this has been one of the real challenges in the security industry for many years. Just about every breach you've ever read about had a firewall, it had antivirus, and they were still breached. So part of what we wanted to do at CrowdStrike was to really redefine endpoint security, but do it from the cloud. If you think about cloud pioneers, a Salesforce, a ServiceNow, a Workday, there really was no security cloud.
Right.
And when we started the company in 2011, we thought we could be that fourth pillar of security, or cloud computing, CrowdStrike, developing and pioneering the security cloud.
Now, I have to believe if Amazon Web Services, which we've had on the show, is a partner of yours, well, you couldn't get a better marquee name.
Absolutely. Amazon and AWS is a great partner for us. As I talked about on the earnings call, we've got a lot of momentum with their marketplace, and we're protecting a lot of the world's leading workloads, whether they're in Amazon, Azure, or even the Google Cloud.
Now, I know that when I talk about how proprietary you are, I mean, other people immediately say to me, well, wait a second, they have a partnership with Dell. Jim, you had VMware on. VMware just merged with Carbon Black. That is going to spell the end of their relationship with Dell. And I said, well, that's not necessarily the case.
Well, the thing about Dell and SecureWorks, where we have our partnership, they've always had a customer choice model. They've always had the option to pick various technologies. And what we found is that customers want the leading cloud-native technology, which is CrowdStrike, which is why we're growing so fast, which is why we're a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So at the end of the day, for us, it's business as usual, and we believe the customer wants to have the best security, and CrowdStrike is it.
Okay. Now, the other day, Zscaler, a really good company, talked about how it's taking longer to close big deals. And that was interpreted by the people in the conference call, that therefore many people are considering Zscaler versus others. It's no longer just Zscaler like that. Yeah. Is that a correct interpretation? And have you found it harder to close large deals?
We have not found it harder to close large deals. In fact, we've closed big deals in a day, particularly when you see these ransomware attacks. You see organizations, state governments being devastated. People realize that we have the technology to prevent against these breaches and devastating attacks pioneered with artificial intelligence. So when there's a time of crisis, actually our sales cycle shortens.
Now, when people hear the term endpoint, we don't have, some people may not be as sophisticated. Tell people what an endpoint is and why you protect it so well.
Sure. When we say endpoint, we really think about workloads, but an endpoint can be a PC, it could be a server, it could be a cloud workload, it could be a mobile device, it could be an Internet of Things device. And when we say endpoints, we really want people to think about workloads, and the proliferation of workloads as they go forward is going to be something we could take advantage of.
No, I don't think people can quite grasp the magnitude. Annual recurring revenue increased 104% year over year. You've been around in Silicon Valley. You've done a lot of this. Have you ever had anything that in your career that matched that?
I have not seen this growth anywhere, and as you pointed out, the fastest growing SaaS IPO ever.
Right.
It's just been tremendous, and I think security is one of those areas everyone has to have it. It's so topical to be able to stop breaches, which is part of our success.
On your conference call, you talked about how there were 3 companies that recently, I don't want to use the term give up, but have sold themselves.
Right.
And what seemed interesting to me was that's basically saying, you know what, they can compete with CrowdStrike. Is that a too hyperbolic view of it? But because when I read this, I said, hey, if you can't keep up, you sell.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen in the industry. I think what we've seen in security parallels something like CRM. If you look at Salesforce,
right.
Lots of players like Siebel ultimately sold
Right.
because they couldn't make the transition from on-prem and a perpetual license model to cloud-native, SaaS-delivered, and recurring revenue.
Do you get worried when a guy like Nikesh Arora comes on squawk on the street with Palo Alto and says, listen, I think everyone's going to have to understand we've made a series of acquisitions going after guys like CrowdStrike?
I think they're a great firewall company. I think one of the things that we focused on at CrowdStrike is being the best endpoint security platform. We spent 8 years doing this. We have a lot of DNA doing this. And it's not as easy to just transition and do something else, particularly from a Salesforce perspective as well as a technology perspective. So it's a big industry, but I think our success and where we rank in Gartner is one of the reasons why customers continue to buy us.
Well, you got the best mousetrap. Maybe that's what matters. You've been around a long time to know that may be exactly the case. That is George Kurtz, CEO and co-founder of CrowdStrike. You can see why I like the stock, but I understand a lot of people are nervous right now about high multiple stocks versus sales and whatever. But how about thinking about the product itself? Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.